Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about Zootopia 2 and the entire box office with a box office breakdown that breaks down more than that. It breaks down the winners and the losers and what is so limiting these days about what the box office has to offer, and maybe why $100 million seems almost impossible. So, here we go. Now, before we get started, just a quick reminder, I'm on my way to 50K, which means I need your help. So, while you're here, look down, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and select all notifications. That way you don't miss anything. I'm releasing several videos a day, plus a live stream, so you don't want to miss anything, especially when we get down to brass tacks, which we're going to head right to right now. You see, Zootopia's third weekend is $26 million plus, and that puts it back at number one, eclipsing what, well, destroyed it last weekend. FNAF 2. And look, there's a lot of reasons why horror movies are doing so well these days. It's because, well, there's a built-in audience for them, and they're guaranteed. They're guaranteed to give you something you're consistently familiar with, especially Five Nights at Freddy's, which many people have already played. So as a video game movie, it's going to do pretty well. But as a horror film, you've already seen it once. Now you're seeing it a second time. A third one is guaranteed. And yet, not everything's guaranteed, except for another Disney flop, which we talked about this morning, or will talk about this morning on the 6 Minute Daily, our daily live stream program each and every weekday. Now, Sunday box office update coming to us from Anthony D'Alessandro over at Deadline talks about Ella McKay. The Disney flop factory is back in full effect, and that film just did not do very well. So let's take a look at what separates Zootopia 2 from everything else. In the Sunday morning right through, the 50th weekend of the year, coming up on the end of the year, is ringing up about $80 million per Comscore. That's still under that $100 million number that we'll talk more about in the live stream if you haven't seen it yet. And that's off about 13% from a year ago, which means it's not doing all that well. And you have to remember there were a lot of misfires last year as well, including Craven the Hunter and New Line's misfire Lord of the Rings The War of Rohirrim, which was again a girl boss film that nobody wanted and nobody asked for. Regardless of those two movies, you still had a few other things in theaters that were bringing in the box office, including Wicked, which actually finished as number 2 last year, and Moana 2, which finished at number 1. Doing pretty well in the $26 million range and showing you what Disney can really do with their animated features. Well, once again, with Zootopia 2, we have $26.3 million, mirroring last year almost exactly, off about $100,000. Now, that's saying something very specific. The bigger story, of course, is that Zootopia 2 has a massive total at this point, $1.13 billion, mostly, if not entirely, driven by China. Last weekend, we already had Disney becoming the biggest grossing MPA studio year to date, with $5.1 billion, just sneaking past Warner Brothers' $4.2 billion, based strictly on one particular movie. In fact, according to Deadline's primary story for Zootopia 2, as crossing the billion-dollar box office, this is the fastest Hollywood animation ever to that milestone. So when I say that they're rushing to the China bucks, as I did in the intro, they absolutely are. Every single one of them, despite the fact that they'll take home about 20% in total of what that box office happens to finish at in China. In fact, the international box office is responsible for $753 million to this point. Not something that you would have predicted when you looked at this film going in. But $232.7 million domestic is something that Disney hasn't been dancing anywhere close to for quite some time. And when you count in this weekend's release, a mid-budget film from 20th Century, they're nowhere close on that one. Speaking of Ella McKay, It's one of the worst debuts ever for Disney with only $2 million, which is exactly half of what was predicted. So when it comes to Disney's highs and lows at the box office, they have the animated sequel, Zootopia 2, that's doing very well back at number 1. And they have Ella McKay, $2.1 million in domestic debut, suffering one of the worst openings in modern times for Disney. That's not stellar. To be fair, Ella McKay was cheap, according to Variety, at $35 million, which is way less than what Disney normally spends. But in reality, that's hollow sucker and a poor excuse for something that James L. Brooks should have just done better on. In fact, as a mid-budget movie, Variety explains it away this way, saying it's not exactly a mystery as to why ticket sales missed the mark. Ella McKay is the same kind of mid-budget film that studios hardly make anymore because audiences don't show up for them. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. They just haven't made a good one in a long, long time. And when we talk about the numbers, let's actually talk about the numbers. From the numbers, we have Zootopia 2 in first place at 26.3 million. It dropped about 40%. It also dropped about 165 theaters, and it still was able to eke out a win against Five Nights with Freddy's, which dropped about 70%. Better than the last film, but still so substantial that it took a massive hit across the board despite gaining theaters and being under $20 million. Wicked for Good, or Wicked 2, whatever you want to call it, is doing what I expected it would do, which is fall off the planet to the tune of another 51% drop and only $8.5 million. It's not only lost steam, it's lost interest, and it's going to maybe lose the opportunity for a third film. I'm not sure Glenda gets actually made or anything that they had in mind to follow this film up. In what is either fourth or fifth place at this point, you have Now You See Me 3. $2.3 million isn't exactly breaking down the gates with a 32% drop, and neither is Jujutsu Kaisen Execution from G-Kids. $2.1 million at the 79% drop is also not gonna rattle the gates of Hollywood, but substantial enough they'll continue to do these same projects over and over again. Finally, Ella McKay. $2.1 million in 2,500 theaters is Disney's latest flop and will likely disappear entirely next weekend. At the end of the day, the number I care about is this one. With 29 films accounted for in this particular spreadsheet, and the fact that we guess it's going to be roughly $80 million in total, I don't know where they're coming up with the extra $10 million here, maybe in about 5 or 6 more films, but $70.9 billion is not enough to make the major cinematic exhibitors very happy. And that's been essentially the whole year of 2025. If you're curious, you can go back and find a video probably from every Monday this year where I'm breaking down the disappointment of AMC and others that are just not where they need to be. And I find it surprising that AMC has numbers overall that look pretty good, and that Aronson is able to keep control of what I'm going to say is becoming one of the more expensive entertainment enterprises without a whole lot of potential. In other words, I think that in 2026, we're going to have to pay close attention to what the quarterly breakdowns are for AMC and Regal and Cinemark and everybody else out there. And with that, I have to ask, what do you think about cinemas going forward? Do you think 2026 will be continuing to disappoint? Do you think that there's chances out there, or there's films out there that can help with some form of recovery? Is that Supergirl? Is it Doomsday? Or is it something else that I'm just not thinking about? And finally, do you think Avatar finds a way to save the day in 2026 with a miraculous number that I think is unlikely? Do you think we have a $2 billion film on the horizon? I don't know. but I'm interested in what you think, so let me know in the comments section below. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! Just maybe not at the movie theaters. Yikes.